Amora was a young, vibrant single mother who adored her 4-year-old daughter, Zina. She worked hard to make ends meet and had recently found an escape from her daily struggles through TikTok. Her lively dances and infectious energy had gained her a small but growing following. It was her way of coping and bringing joy to her life. One Saturday evening, Amora decided to prepare a special dinner for Zina. She placed a pot of oil on the gas stove to fry plantains while her daughter played nearby in the kitchen. As the oil began to heat up, her phone buzzed with a notification. One of her TikTok videos was trending. Excited, she quickly moved to the living room, set up her phone, and began dancing live for her audience. Her followers flooded the chat with encouraging messages and heart emojis. The energy was addictive. Lost in the rhythm, she didn't notice the faint smell of smoke coming from the kitchen. Zina, curious and unaware of the danger, pulled a chair to reach the stove. As she leaned over to see the bubbling oil, the sleeve of her dress caught fire. Panic-stricken, she screamed, but Amora didn't hear her over the music and her cheering audience. Within seconds, the fire spread to the pot, causing it to tip over and spill flames onto the floor and Zina. The kitchen erupted into chaos as smoke filled the room. It wasn't until the smell of burning reached the living room that Amora snapped out of her trance. Confused and terrified, she ran to the kitchen, only to be met with a horrific scene. Flames had engulfed the area, and Zina's cries had faded into an eerie silence. The fire department arrived after neighbors called for help, but it was too late. The flames were extinguished, but the damage was irreversible. Amora crumbled to the ground, clutching Zina's favorite toy, consumed by grief and guilt. News of the incident spread quickly. People on social media criticized Amora for her negligence, with many blaming her obsession with TikTok for the tragedy. In the days that followed, Amora deleted her TikTok account and retreated into solitude, haunted by the consequences of a moment's distraction. She vowed to dedicate the rest of her life to advocating for the importance of being present and vigilant, especially as a parent. But no amount of advocacy could bring Zina back. Her story became a painful lesson about the dangers of misplaced priorities and the irreversible cost of a single mistake. Amora's life after the tragedy became a shadow of what it once was. She couldn't step into the kitchen without hearing Zina's laughter echoing in her mind, followed by the gut-wrenching silence that haunted her every night. Each moment replayed in her memory, a relentless torment that refused to fade. Social services initially got involved, but there was no one left to punish. Amora's guilt was punishment enough. Friends and family who once supported her withdrew, not knowing how to console a mother who had failed her child in such a tragic way. Some blamed her openly, others pitied her from afar. Months passed, and Amora finally left her apartment. She attended therapy and grief counseling, though the road to healing was steep. The therapist encouraged her to find a way to channel her pain into something meaningful. Amora decided to share her story, raw and unfiltered. She reached out to parenting groups, schools, and even local churches, speaking to anyone willing to listen. Her message was clear: moments of distraction can have devastating consequences. She also began volunteering at fire safety workshops, using her experience as a cautionary tale. Amora partnered with local fire departments to educate families about kitchen safety, especially when children were present. She donated what little money she could to organizations advocating for fire safety in low-income communities. Despite her efforts, there were moments when the weight of the tragedy seemed unbearable. Late at night, she'd sit by Zina's small memorial in the corner of her living room, whispering apologies that no one could hear. One day, while scrolling through social media, a platform she now approached with caution, Amora stumbled upon a message from a woman who had attended one of her talks. The woman shared how Amora's story had saved her family from a similar tragedy. "I turned off the stove before stepping away because I remembered your words," the message read. For the first time in months, Amora felt a glimmer of hope. Perhaps Zina's loss, though unbearably painful, had sparked something that could prevent others from suffering the same fate. Years later, Amora founded a non-profit organization called Zina's Light, dedicated to child safety education and awareness. She traveled the country, speaking to parents and children about fire safety and the dangers of distractions. Though the pain never fully left her, the knowledge that she was making a difference gave her life a renewed purpose. Amora could never undo that tragic night, but through her advocacy, Zina's memory lived on, a bright light guiding others away from the darkness of preventable mistakes. The continuation highlights Amora's journey toward redemption and her efforts to turn her pain into a force for good. Let me know if you'd like me to expand further.